Lots of people have been asking me what I've been doing during this period of quarantine, and a lot of what I've been doing is trying to evangelize by making videos. But then someone asked me, well, Father, can't you make a video for children? And so we launched this Ask Father project. And some of you first graders sent me some questions. And so Andy and Maddie Morris, I guess who are both in first and second grade, asked, Father, how will social distancing affect school mass? And I'm not 100% sure exactly how it will affect us. We might have to have fewer people in church instead of having all the kids or even half the kids in church. We might have to sit further apart in church. We might not do things like shake hands at the sign of peace or hold hands at the Lord's Prayer. Sometimes we give communion in the form of the host, and other times under the form of the precious blood. And so we might not have communion under the form of the precious blood for the people to receive. Sometimes our singing might have to change. We're not sure. Some people say that the virus can be spread through singing, or the droplets go further that carry the virus. And so we might have to look at some of that. So we're not sure how social distancing will affect us. We might have to sit every other pew. But it'll affect us not only for school masses, but even for Sunday masses. So we'll see how it will affect us. But that's a good question. A second series of questions was asked by Elise Laurent. She asked, how are you doing? Are you lonely? How does it feel at church? And what can we do to help? All great questions. Well, I'm doing great. I'm doing better today because the sun is shining. I feel great because I have some peace and quiet at times. I'm not as busy as I otherwise would be. I'm not too lonely. The parish office staff still comes into work, though I look out at the ball fields outside of my office and I'm sad because no one's out there playing baseball this time of year. I'm sad because the school is empty and there are no children on the playground. I'm sad because a lot of people are sick. And at the same time, I'm doing well because I know that God has called me to serve people even during these times, to visit the sick, to pray for them. I have more time to pray and to read. Am I lonely? Sometimes I get lonely. From March 17th until just before Easter, every single day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner I had all by myself. That can get not only lonely, but monotonous. But people get lonely all the time. Even if it wasn't time for quarantine or pandemic, I'd still sometimes get lonely. Married people get lonely. Single people get lonely. The old and young get lonely. But we priests, we have people all around us. How does it feel at church? Well, church is very empty. I look out every day and the whole church is empty. And I know people are watching the live stream of the Mass. But still, it's different than when people are there. And yet I'm never alone at church. At every Mass, all the angels and saints in heaven are there with me. And Mary, our mother, is there. And then when I say the prayers, Jesus is there upon the altar. And I look at him and he looks back at me and I smile wider and wider because Jesus is with us in the Holy Eucharist. And so then I receive him and then I'm even happier than I was before. So I feel pretty good because I have Jesus in my life. What can we do to help? Well, I think the best thing you can do to help is to say your prayers. Pray for me, pray for Father Dave, pray for our staff, pray for all the sick people and doctors and nurses who are caring for them. What can you do to help? I think do your best at school. It's hard to be homeschooled and to not see your friends, but try to do your best in all things. What can you do to help? I think be good to your parents and to your brothers and sisters. Keep God's commandments, especially the commandment to love God and to love your neighbor. Those are all some things you can do to help. I know other people are doing things like they're making cards to cheer up the sick or to cheer up the doctors and nurses. Still others are making masks and sewing little masks. I have some masks. Maybe I can find them. Here's one mask people made for me. You can see it with all the animals on it. Okay, that's one mask. And another mask people made for me. This is sort of like a gag mask, but you can see it. Sort of like my priest mask. You see, I have a mask, but it has a little collar like the priests wear. And someone made that for me and for Father Dave. So we have our masks. Okay, so you can do little things, but do them with great love. Okay, thanks for your questions, Elise. Finally, Charlie Schmidt asked a kind of a complicated question. You know, in the Creed, we say that Jesus was crucified, died, and was buried. He descended into hell, and on the third day he rose again from the dead. And Charlie Schmidt asks, what does he descended into hell mean? Why would Jesus go to hell? Well, it doesn't mean like hell, like where the devil is, where there's fire and all this sort of thing. No, this was a way that early Christians spoke of the realm of the dead, like the Greeks spoke of Hades, or the Jewish people spoke of Sheol, the place where people went after they died. What does it mean Jesus descended into hell? Well, when Jesus died, he was buried in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. And when we die, our body is separated from our soul. Jesus' body remained in the tomb, but his soul went down amongst the dead to tell them that they too would share in his mission, that his mission of mercy and redemption would be applied to them, to bring the good news of God's mercy even amongst them. And then his soul was reunited with his body, and his body was glorified, and God the Father raised him up on the third day, and he ascended to the right hand of the Father, where he sits even now. So that's why Jesus descended amongst the dead. It's kind of a mystical, very difficult question to answer. It's a great mystery of our faith, but nevertheless, a true mystery of our faith. Jesus really did die, and his body was separated from his soul, and then his body and soul were reunited, and he was glorified in his body, for he is truly risen. All right, thanks for the great questions. May God bless you. I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.